You're listening to Bump Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Simple question for you guys. It's really yes or no. You can respond on the Mac and Jack's text line 866-979-3776. Does DK Metcalf have a fumbling problem? So I looked back at these numbers, and I did so because once DK fumbled for a second time in as many games, this one being against the Giants, previously being against the Lions, I knew that what we would be talking about, or rather that some feedback that I would see would be DK needs to control the football, DK needs to stop fumbling, DK has a fumbling problem. Like, I knew that would be a conversation. And if you're not someone that's really focused on that, don't worry about it. Then you're probably a little more like me where you go, But I do know that people are concerned about this. So first, Bump, I'll throw you the question before I play you some sound. Do you think DK has a fumbling problem?
No. I think that it's definitely in his head. I think this week, if he fumbles, he officially has a fumbling problem. I think that, things happen. When you are the type of player that DK is, a player that has the physicality to work for extra yards that a CD Lamb or a Marvin Harrison Jr. just wouldn't fight for because of who they are physically, you're going to have to deal with some stuff. And you got some numbers when it comes to him fumbling and all that good stuff. So, no, I think right now he's good.
Yeah.
If he fumbles again, then I think we say, okay, there's an issue.
And DK, please don't, because you're going to make me look so stupid. You know what I mean? Like, please have my back here. But I feel the same way, and I think we all heard on the broadcast the announcing crew say, hey, DK leading receivers in fumbles since he's been in the league. Well, that doesn't sound good. I don't want a wide receiver that's leading all wide receivers in fumbles since he's been with me. However, you also got to dig a little bit deeper. DK had 3 lost fumbles in his rookie season in 2019, and he had 2 in each of the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 of the 8 fumbles that he's had over a 6-7 year career came either in the last 2 weeks or in his rookie season. I just think that there's a little bit of fudging when it comes to the numbers not being fully reflective of DK as a player. He's had seasons where he hasn't fumbled the ball. He's had seasons where he's lost a fumble once. That's not great, but hardly a huge problem. I think DK doesn't have ball security as a huge strength because I think he's a player that's always going to fight for extra yards and is a very aggressive kind of player that's going to push forward. Like, he's not going to just go down easily. So you can critique Tyler Lockett for going down without taking a hit, but then you'll critique DK for running into contact. What do you want? A player that's going to be perfect? Mistakes are going to come either way.
Imagine if you were 6'3", 230 on a football field.
I could get anything at the grocery store.
And we're literally the biggest player on the perimeter, right? The last time I was the biggest player at anything was 6th, 7th grade. And you move different when you're the biggest player on the football field, and you can do something that most receivers can't do. Now, I look at DK and the way he runs and holds the football. There's some looseness there for sure.
Mm-hmm.
No one is running like Tiki Barber back in the day with the New York Football Giants. No one does that. There is questionable ball security in any ball carrier. I think running backs probably secure the ball the most because they run through the first, second, and third levels, and their contact is different. Can he get better at securing the football? Of course he can. You got 2 fumbles in 2 games. Is it something to where I'm thinking, someone asked me, are you going to bench DK? I go, no, he could fumble this game and I ain't going to bench him. No, because of what he does, no one else can do. He holds it a little higher and tighter. Maybe he covers it up with 2 hands when you meet some contact. There are things that he can do to kind of lessen the chance that he is going to fumble the football. But at no point am I going to tell DK to not be DK.
Yeah.
Because that's what got him here. That's what has him 4th in the league when it comes to receiving yards.
Well, and I'm glad that you mentioned, again, numbers, I don't think DK has a fumbling problem. We've talked about that, with 5 of those fumbles being either in the last 2 weeks or in his rookie season. So, again, that's a pretty heavy percentage of those that are isolated to 2 periods of time. It doesn't mean that he's like Tyler Lockett, who I think has 1 fumble in the last several years, right? But he's a different wide receiver who has a different style of play. But the way I look at it in a larger picture, I'm glad that you mentioned the pros that he brings. He's your leading receiver. Since you drafted him, no other Seahawks receiver has had more receiving touchdowns or more receiving yards. No, not even Tyler Lockett. No other pass catcher for the Seattle Seahawks has as many yards or touchdowns as DK Metcalf since he's entered the league. He has been your best offensive weapon. So it's the give and take of there are things that you just accept that are flaws with players who have more have a boon as opposed to a bust with your team. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like there are things that other people do that I'll complain about. My friends do the same things and I don't complain about it because they're my friends. That's DK Metcalf. Like he's leading your team in receiving yards. He's been your best receiver since 2019, his rookie season, obviously. And there are things that I'd change about his game. Fewer flags, fewer penalties. Don't fumble at all. Those would be great. But much like you kind of overlook things with your friends, I overlook those because the return on investment is still fairly high.
Everybody got flaws, man, in their game. And I see people connecting his drops to his fumbles. So I looked up the drops and want to give you guys just an idea of where DK stands when it comes to drops. The guys leading the league in drops, you got Amari Cooper, Darnell Mooney, Wicks, Waddle, Reed. And now the guys who are tied with DK when it comes to drops, you got Justin Jefferson, pretty good football player. You got Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, Stephon Diggs, Alan Lazard, Garrett Wilson, Rondell Robinson, Brandon Ayuk, Jerry Jeudy. And CeeDee Lamb right behind them with 2. So they're crediting DK with 3 drops. I think some people see tough plays not being made where there's contact or a football they think he should catch, and they say that's a drop. A drop is when you're butt naked on a Sunday and it touches your hands and you just let it go. Is DK the most natural pass catcher? No, he's not. But I think his drops are blown out of proportion because it's the difficult catch that people would just expect him to make, but it's not officially a drop. Everybody has flaws. I'm willing to deal with some flaws because I know on the back end, DK is going to be one of the more explosive receivers in the game.
Well, and let's be real. The reason that people are talking about DK and being extra critical is because of booming wide receiver salaries, the 360. You can and should accept flaws in a player that would bring a great deal of skill to the table, right up to the point when they ask to be the single highest paid player in the world at what they do. I don't know. Maybe DK and his agent will ask to be the top paid wide receiver. Unless he's putting up 1,800 yards this year, I don't think he can.
No, I don't think he can, but I also think that is business.
Yeah.
When you sit down at the table and you're trying to figure out how you're going to allocate the funds, you got to bring up some stuff. They will talk about drops. They will talk about fumbles. That's just reality. It just frustrates me when people expect a perfect player, and you're never going to get him, man.
Yeah, somewhere is a Vikings fan who complains about Justin Jefferson.
Something about his game.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like somewhere someone's dating a 10, and they're like, I just wish that they were better.
I wish they were nicer.
I wish they were nicer.
I wish they did laundry.